All right, I think we'll get started. People will probably drift in over the next few minutes, but that's fine. So welcome, my name is Ellen Baxt, and I work at the CUNY Central Office. And I work with a team of professional developers that works with all of the campus programs. This is the second in a series of workshops on college admission and um, and career preparation. So I am going to share my screen. Okay, so hopefully you can all see my screen. So this workshop is on career preparation, post-secondary options, and I'll explain what all of that means in a minute. As I said, it's the second workshop in this series that we're doing on what to do after you finish with our program. So welcome. As Eric mentioned, you are muted now. We have over 100 people in this meeting, so we want to be sure that everyone can hear me. At some point, I might ask individual people to unmute themselves. If, for example, you put a question in the chat and I want you to clarify your question or something like that, we might ask you to unmute yourself. When you registered, you sent in questions and I got lots and lots and lots of questions. And as I developed the workshop, I kept those questions in mind so that I could answer a lot of them. So just know that if you put in a question with your registration, I have read it and I have been thinking about it. So before you write a specific question in the chat, I would like you to listen to what I'm presenting because I may be answering your question in what I'm presenting. This session is being recorded and it is going to be stored on a Google Classroom page that used to be called the College Going Google Classroom page. And we changed it to career preparation because college is only one way of preparing for a career. And so tonight we're going to talk about a lot of other ways that you can get prepared to enter your career or your dream job or a different career. So as I mentioned, this was a series. The first in this series was about applying to a CUNY college. And there was tons of information presented by Charlotte Henson Butler, who works at the CUNY Welcome Center, who knows everything there is to know about CUNY admissions. And we saved all of that information in a Google Classroom page that I just mentioned on career preparation. Many of you have been to that page if you registered for the workshop. So this one is preparing for a career, and a lot of what we're going to be talking about is how to figure out what your interests are. And once you know your interests, how to figure out what you should do next to prepare for your career. We also received a ton of questions about how to pay for that. And there were so many questions about that that I decided to separate that into a separate workshop. So we haven't scheduled anything yet, but probably the next workshop or one of our workshops coming up soon will be about how to pay for that preparation, whether it's college or another type of program, whether it's financial aid through the government or from other sources. So today we're not going to focus as much on paying for it as we are on figuring out what it is. What is it that you want to do and how can you prepare for that? Okay, so we're talking about post-secondary options. So what does that mean? Secondary is the high school level. And so if you are in a high school equivalency class, that is the secondary level. And so when people talk about post-secondary options, they're talking about what you're going to do after you've completed a high school equivalency diploma or a high school diploma. Primary is elementary school. And so here, post-secondary is after the high school level. So our CUNY programs have a number of different tracks. Some of you may be ESL students where you're working on your English skills. Some of you may be in high school equivalency classes, and some of you may be preparing for the high school equivalency classes. So some of you may be going through many levels in our programs, preparing to get your diploma. So we are gonna have a poll. Eric and I are like figuring out how this works. We're gonna have a poll, and I think that Eric is gonna put it up and it's gonna pop up on the screen really soon. You're muted.
I think we have two quick polls, correct?
Yes.
So we'll do one after another, maybe?
Oh, right. I forgot about the first one. Correct. Okay. So we'll do the first one first and the second one second.
Okay, here goes.
Here goes.
Hopefully you're seeing a question on your screen right now. And the votes are rolling in.
I love it.
So it's just a few more people who maybe haven't had a chance to make a choice. Are you student or staff?
All right. So we have a lot of students here and some staff. So
Okay.
that is a great mix.
So you might see it now, and I'm not sure, but then everyone else doesn't see it yet. So I'm going to end the polling. Okay.
Okay.
2 more seconds, and then we'll display the results. And share the results so you can see who's here tonight.
All right.
So 102 students and more people still showing up, certainly, and 18 staff.
Great.
And now we'll take a look at the second poll, correct?
Yes.
And so here's the second question. I'll let you explain the question.
So, so I was just talking about the different levels of education, right? So, secondary, primary. So the question here is, do you think the level of education you have makes a change on how much money you can make? In other words, if you have, say, for example, a diploma, do you think you can earn more money than you could without a diploma? So yes or no, what do you think? Does the level of education you have make a difference on how much money you can make?
So we still have a few decisions coming in. It looks like almost everybody has responded. Maybe another 3 seconds. Okay, let's show the results.
All right, so 88% of you think yes, the level of education you have can impact how much money you can make. 12% of you thought no. So that's one thing we're going to look at. And I have a graph that we're going to look at that is one answer to this question. So, okay, so here is the graph. I'm just going to read the title, and then I want you to look at this graph and think about how a graph tells a story, right? It's a story of information. And so I want you to look at this graph and think about, okay, what story does this graph tell? So our story is called Unemployment Rates. So unemployment rates is the number of people who do not have a job, and earnings. So earnings are the amount of money someone makes. So unemployment rates, the number of people who do not have a job, and earnings, the amount of money that people who do have a job earn, by educational attainment. So educational attainment means the highest level of education that you have. And we see that this is from 2019, so it's pretty recent. Of course, this does not take into account COVID because 2019 was in the before times. So one more time, unemployment rates and earnings by educational attainment. So I want you to just take a minute and read this graph, the words, the bars, the numbers, and just kind of like think in your mind what conclusion you can draw or what story this graph is telling. All right. So when I look at this graph, what I see are, so I see bars of two different colors. So it looks like the blue bars are the unemployment rate, the percent of people who are not employed, who don't have a job, and the median usual weekly earnings. So that means the number that's kind of in the middle of people at each level of education. So then on the left-hand side, I see those words are the level of education. So the bottom one, less than a diploma, that's the lowest level of education. And doctoral degree, which is the top bar, is the highest level degree. Another word for doctoral degree is a PhD, if you've heard of that. So I just kind of like take some time and I'm looking at these bars. One thing that's a little confusing is unemployment. And so it's not the number of people who are employed, it's the number of people who are not employed. So that's always a little tricky for me. And so when I look at this, I see, okay, the bars, there's a pattern. I see that the bar on the bottom is longest, and as we go up, the bars get shorter and shorter and shorter in the blue bars. So that says to me, the more education you have, the less likely it is that you'll be unemployed. Or in other words, the more likely it is that you will be employed. Okay, so less than a high school diploma, there's 5.4% unemployment. And with a doctoral degree, it's just 1.1%. So that says to me, it's more likely that you will be employed as your education gets higher, as you have more and more education. And then with the green bars, I see there's kind of a similar pattern, though the length of the bars is reversed, that the earnings are lower the less education you have. The earnings are higher with higher levels of education. So, one thing I do, I study careers a lot. And one of the things I do is study statistics about careers, because that gives us a lot of information about where the jobs are, where they're openings, and all kinds of information about careers. I also talk to a lot of people because only looking at the numbers does not give me a full picture. Sometimes the data is outdated, right? Our employment landscape was very different in 2019 than it is now. But we can see, like, kind of in regular times, these were the levels.
Oh, I'm sorry, can I interrupt you for a moment?
Mhm.
There was a question about an associate's degree. If you could give, there's also been some responses in the chat, but if you could
Okay.
give maybe an example of an associate's degree.
Yes, great question. Okay. So at the bottom, we have less than a high school diploma. So that's what most of you have. Some of you might have earned a diploma in another country, but a lot of you are working toward your high school diploma. So less than a high school diploma, some college, no degree. So a diploma is what you get when you finish high school. A degree is what you get when you finish a course of study in college. And there are a few different levels of degrees. So the first level is an associate's degree. In CUNY, those associate's degrees are at community colleges, and some of the senior colleges also offer associate's degrees. A lot of people earn an associate's degree in about 3 years, but it depends if you go full-time or part-time and how you do in your classes and things like that. But associate's degree is kind of the first level of degrees. The next level is a bachelor's degree. That can take an additional 2 or 3 years. And bachelor's degrees in CUNY are only offered at the senior colleges. They are not offered at community colleges. So some people earn an associate's degree at a community college, and then they transfer to a senior college and they do an additional 2 or 3 or 4 more years to earn a bachelor's degree. Master's degree is above that. And that is usually an additional 2 or 3 years at minimum. And then a professional degree. So professional degrees are like an MD, a medical doctor, a JD, a lawyer. So those are professional degrees. And then doctoral degree is the PhD. That's a very high level degree, and it takes a very long time to earn a PhD. Usually takes around 6 to 10 years to earn a PhD. So, Erica, any other questions before we move on? This sort. Okay. We're going to talk more about that too. Okay, so a few of the questions that I got a lot of in the registration questions were, how do I know what kind of education and what level of education I should pursue? And how do I know which career I should pursue? So those are extremely important and very connected questions. So I gave this assignment to do some work on this database called My Next Move. If you didn't do it, it's totally fine. If you did do it, great. And so in My Next Move, you can do what's called an interest assessment, where you figure out, okay, you're asked a bunch of questions and then it determines, okay, these are the things you're interested in. And here are some careers based on your responses that you might be interested in. So we're going to actually go to this website now, and I'm going to walk through some of the features so that if you haven't done it yet, you can do it on your own. And even if you have done it, there's some additional features that are really useful. So the first step in figuring out what post-secondary education you want to pursue is what your interests are, right? Like if you don't know that, you're just looking at a list of degrees and certificates and you don't really necessarily know. So the first thing is to get in touch with your own interests. So we're going to go to this website. And are you seeing the My Next Move website? Yes. Okay, cool. So so one thing that I like to do when I get to any website is I like to, before I interact with it, I just look. And so I put some questions in the homework assignment that relate to just looking to see what's here. So when I look, first I see a bunch of pictures. What are they pictures of? Looks like people doing different kinds of jobs. Then I see it says, what do you want to do for a living? For a living means how do you want to earn money? So, okay, has to do with jobs, money. Then it says, I want to be in green. It says, I know when I'll know when I see it in brown. And I'm not really sure in purple. So I'm guessing this is some kind of website that is going to give me some information about careers. So there are a number of different ways you can use this website. One is to put in a keyword search, right? And so there's some examples down here. One is doctor and one is build houses. So that means you might know the name of the career and you could just go and write it in there. Or you might not know the name of the career, but you know some related terms. And so you can put some terms in there. And so when I do that, I'll put in, let me see what happens if I put in the word chemicals. Okay, so it returns this whole long list of careers that relate to chemicals. Okay, so now in this middle area, it says browse careers by industry. So in industry, if you've heard of like the music industry, the entertainment industry, so that is a collection of related careers, right? So we have the music industry, and within the music industry, you have performers, you have producers. So there are lots of different careers within that industry. So if I click here, I see a whole list of industries, and I can click on one and hit browse. And then I see careers within that industry. Boilermakers, brick masons, carpenters. And then the last one, now this is the main area that I assigned you to do, is this I'm not really sure. I've done this several times. I think it's really interesting, even if you already have a career, even if you think you're sure, because it just gives you ideas. And so what you do is you click start, and then it's actually kind of a few pages in. So there are these icons that are around your preferences, right? It's ranking. Do you strongly dislike, kind of dislike, you're not sure, you like it, you strongly like it? Okay, so that's a ranking of your preferences. Then you kind of click a few more pages until you get to this list. So there are 60 questions. So it's a lot of questions, and you're ranking your interest in them. Is it like I really dislike, I kind of dislike, I'm unsure, maybe I'd like that, and oh, I'd really like that. And so you just click these, whatever is true for you, until you get through all of them. And when you get through all of them, it gives you a list of recommended careers. And so once you get the recommended careers, they are in what they call job zones. And the job zones relate to the level of education that's required. Some careers require, a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, and some don't even require a high school diploma, right? So you can have careers at different levels for the same person, right? Based on your interests. So I want to go back a little bit to what you'll see when you click on one of these careers. So I'm going to click on carpenter. And then it takes me to this information that's all about being a carpenter. There's a short video. There's this description here of what they do, the knowledge that's required, the skills that are required, abilities, personality, technology, education, the job outlook, and the pay. And I want to point out a few interesting features here. So one place that I like to go is click on this button that says Find Jobs. So the information about education and about the salary, that's a generalization. That means it's not necessarily true for every single job, but when they look at lots of jobs, this is generally true, or this is the average. But if I click Find Jobs, I'm going to put in my zip code. And then it's going to take me to job postings in my area right now so that I can see, okay, what are employers in my area right now looking for? So let's see, carpenter, let me check this out. I'm curious about the level of education that it says is required. So I'm going to read this really carefully. Here's what they have to do, the responsibilities, minimum qualifications. Okay, to qualify, you must have a high school diploma or equivalent. Trade school graduate preferred. 5+ years. To me, that means 5+ years of experience, of work experience. So they're looking for someone who has a diploma and who has a significant amount of experience. Must have strong carpentry background and experience with power tools. So if I haven't done much carpentry before, this is not the job for me, right? Because they're requiring a lot of experience. And so I can go back, right? And I can look at several other jobs and see what other ones are requiring. Not sure. These do not seem like carpentry jobs. So that's a little confusing. But I might go back and put a search in again. Those are definitely not carpentry jobs. So this is a great tool to research what your interests are.
Ellen, I don't know. You tell me if you have time. If you don't have time, let me know. But there are a couple questions about specific fields. If you wanted to use one as an example, or we could wait till later.
Yeah, why don't you tell me what they are?
So one question is to be a nurse, how many years does it take to become an RN? Did you want to hear them all or just one at a time?
Let me address that because I think in my experience, a lot of students have interest in becoming a nurse. So I think that's a good one to discuss a little bit. So a lot of students have interest in becoming a nurse, and the community colleges have associate's degrees in nursing. At all of the CUNY community colleges, it is far and away the most difficult degree program. You have to test to get into the program. So you have to actually take some classes at the college before you're allowed to test to get into the program. They only accept the students with the very highest grades. And then they have what's called retention requirements, which means that you must maintain really high grades in order to stay in the program. Now, nurses work in a few different kinds of facilities. We know that nurses work in hospitals, but they also work in places like nursing homes, schools. They could be what's called visiting nurses, which it means they travel to people's homes. And to work in a hospital, you really need at least a bachelor's degree in nursing. People with an associate's degree in nursing are not getting hired to work in a hospital, but you could get hired to work in, say, a nursing home. There are many kinds of nurses. There's, a surgical nurse, there's a pediatric nurse, there's a geriatric nurse, there's a nurse anesthesiologist. So there are specialties and there are different levels. There is a lot of math involved. There is a lot of physical hard work involved. Standing for the shifts are usually 12 hours long. So I often have students who initially are interested in nursing, and then once they learn more about it, they are open to thinking about other careers in healthcare. So there are lots of other careers in healthcare that are in some ways similar to nursing, but maybe not as tough or not as much pressure or not as much blood or not as much moaning or not, so it's always good to look at related careers. So that's what I have to say about nursing.
Yeah, so they were just to say that there were a few people followed up by mentioning some other jobs like radiology, medical assistant, ultrasound technicians, things like that.
So, in healthcare, there are clinical jobs, and those are jobs where you're working with patients. And then there are what's called non-clinical jobs. So there's a whole world of like doing paperwork and medical billing and doing schedules and things like that, where you're not working with patients directly, but you are working in a medical facility. Then on the other hand, there are jobs where you're working with people like community healthcare workers. So that's sort of like a health educator. And so you're working with patients, but not necessarily like sick, moaning, bleeding, crying patients, but you're working with people in the community. Those are jobs where it's really a huge asset. If, for example, you speak the language, you speak another language, you're bicultural, which means you understand the cultural customs. So there are tons of careers in healthcare that are not nursing.
So Ellen, the questions are pouring in now, but I just want to make it clear, we're not going to be able to answer all of these, but we will hold, I'm taking notes.
Okay.
And, there's lots of questions about specific fields, like how long they take.
So what I'm going to be doing in this workshop is I am going to show you the tools to do your own research, so you find out the answer to your very own questions about your own interests. So my next move, what I just showed you, is one of those tools that you can use. If you go to find jobs, you can say, okay, this one requires an associate's degree. This one requires a bachelor's degree. And then you can go to the CUNY website and you can see, okay, how long do those degree programs take? So another tool that is similar to my next move is called the Occupational Outlook Handbook. And this also has descriptions of careers. And so I will, so again, it's organized by the industries or the occupation groups. And then once you click there, these are the individual careers. And you have a summary, the salary, the level of education, how the job outlook is, and then these descriptions. So this is what they do. This is the work environment. So that means usually like where they work, how to become one. So that's the training and education. The pay, the job outlook means how many jobs there are. If it's a bright or a good job outlook, that means there are a lot of jobs. Similar occupation. So we're just talking about like related. It's good to look at related occupations. So the Occupational Outlook Handbook has this related occupations. And we will, again, this is going to be recorded and my presentation will be in the Google Classroom. So you'll have access to all these resources. So that's the Occupational Outlook Handbook. Now, so another resource is Indeed.com. And so this is a website of job postings. Okay, so it's not like information about careers, it's actual real job postings. So you can put in, I'll put in nurse since we were talking about that, and New York, New York. So let's see what comes up. Aesthetic nurse. I'm not even really sure I know what that means exactly. So you have the pay. High interest in aesthetics is a must. I think by aesthetics they mean like maybe like plastic surgery or like something like that. So flexible hours, you must be able to do things for yourself. Outgoing personality. This is not a role for someone who wants a typical 9-to-5 job. So to me, that means they may call me on the weekend and be like, look, I need you to work all weekend. Right? So that is very important, right? COVID vaccination nurse. Baby nurse. This is with a nanny company. Now, none of these really say, it's interesting, none of these really say the degree that's required. Health safety supervisor for TV and film. That sounds fascinating. So requirements, strong English, familiar with technology. Doesn't really say. It's, oh, education and experience. 3 years experience working in a healthcare setting with the current license, we'll talk about that, or certification. So this sounds like you don't really have to be a nurse, right? This sounds like you could be an EMT, a paramedic. So anyway, Indeed.com is one way that you can look at real job postings to say like, okay, right near me where I live, what are employers looking for? And one other resource that I want to share with you is Career One Stop. And these are videos about careers. So we go to career videos. And so what I like about these videos is they're short. They're like around 2 minutes long. They have a written transcript. So if you have trouble like following what they're saying, you have it written down. and it shows the person at work, and you see what they do. So let's see, health science. I'm gonna look at something that's related to a nurse, but not the same thing. Here's an audiologist. An audiologist is someone who deals with hearing.
Audiologists test patients' hearing and examine patients who have balance or other ear problems. Most audiologists fit patients with hearing aids and monitor their hearing over time. Because hearing loss can influence a person's well-being, audiologists evaluate psychological health and determine a patient's coping skills before they recommend treatment. They treat balance disorders with special exercises, clear earwax from ear canals, and may fit patients with cochlear implants for some types of deafness.
Okay, so the most of the videos are like 1.5 minutes long. You get to see where the person works, what they do, and somewhat you have that voice describing what they do. And then you have the written transcript so that you can like really spend some time with that afterwards if you need to.
Ellen, if you have a moment, I don't know if you have a moment to share to do one more career in there. Do you have
Sure.
time? There's a number of questions about pharmacy technician,
Oh, okay.
how long it takes, that kind of thing, but
So, I believe that most pharmacy techs are that you can work as a pharm tech with an associate's degree. So let's see if we went over here to the Occupational Outlook Handbook. So I put that in the search bar.
Claudia mentioned that the pharmacy tech certificate program requires good math skills.
Yeah.
I imagine
Oh
that's
my gosh,
probably
absolutely. Can you imagine having a pharmacy tech that was not good at math? That would not make me feel good. I would be very nervous. Very nervous.
lots of measuring, right?
Lots of measuring and right, like the math that's involved in like dosing. So that's something that nurses have to do also. So this says high school diploma or equivalent, that you can be a pharmacy tech without a degree. So what I might do is I might go to Indeed and I might say, let me see if that's true near me. Okay, so I'm gonna put in pharmacy technician, New York, New York. Okay, Dwayne Reed. Let's see what they want at Dwayne Reed. So we don't really know. It doesn't say the level of education. Let's see. This one says urgently hiring, right? So that means they have an urgent need for this. And this says required licensure or certification. They want you to have a national certification. It's preferred, but not required. They do require 3 to 5 years experience. Okay, so it looks like in general, you can get these jobs with just a diploma, you don't have to have a degree, but some certification is required. So all of this, I want your takeaway to be, I can find the answer to my question, right? So whatever your career is, you can find the answer to your question by using these tools, either going to My Next Move, going to Indeed, going to the Occupational Outlook Handbook. You are in charge and you can find that information for yourself. You don't need like a staff person to tell you, because the truth is, if you went to like your teacher or your case manager and you said, how much education do I need for a pharmacy technician? They would say, most likely, I have absolutely no idea, because there's so many careers out there, we can't know about all of them. But what you can now do is you know about these tools and you can go do the research for yourself. So, all right. So we are gonna move on. Okay, so you figured out what your interests are. The next thing to figure out is what your post-secondary, so after you've earned the diploma, which, like, if you weren't thinking about a diploma before, if you think back to that graph that we looked at, the graph said if you earn a diploma, it will be easier to become employed, to have a job, and you will likely earn more money than someone who does not have a diploma. So I would recommend that if you do not already have a diploma from another country, that you think about earning a diploma. So the post-secondary options depend on your interests and the credential or the requirement of that career. Some careers require a degree. Some careers do not require a degree. So it's really important to do that research so that you're making a well-informed decision about what your post-secondary next step is going to be. You're not just saying, well, I should get a degree in something. You're thinking, okay, like, what am I interested in? Like, where do I want to go in the future? And what is the path? What's the training that I need, or what's the experience that I need to enter that career? In some careers, experience is more valuable than a degree. So you really want to think carefully about what's required. Okay, so the options are a college degree. So those are an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. Certificate programs. So certificate programs, we'll talk about more in a minute, but they are, a lot of certificate programs are offered at the CUNY community colleges. They are not always, but usually take less time than a degree program. And they prepare you to do a specific job. College degree programs ideally should not only prepare you to do one specific job, right? They could be like focused around a job, but they should also be somewhat broad, so that you could maybe do a few different related jobs once you earn the degree. Pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship programs. So apprenticeship programs are in there, they do not exist in every field. So they are a training program, and instead of paying like you do for a certificate program or a degree program, in the apprenticeship program, you get paid to do the training. So there are a lot of apprenticeship programs in the construction industry. In New York City, there are also some in the culinary, the food, the cooking industry, and there are some in the manufacturing industry. They're most common in the construction industry. I'm going to put in a little plug for the construction industry, which is to say that construction, if you go through an apprenticeship program in construction, it will be through a union. Once you're in a union, you will have guaranteed salary steps, meaning that you're getting raises periodically. You're getting lots of ongoing training. You may be getting overtime, which means that you get 1.5 times your regular pay for working beyond your regularly scheduled hours. You have excellent benefits. And it's really a very, very supportive system. Most apprenticeship programs do not require a degree. They require a diploma and a lot of hard work. but you're getting paid to learn. Most apprenticeship programs have a classroom component and a hands-on component. You're working under someone who's supervising you. A lot of construction apprenticeship programs call it the other 4-year college, because a lot of the apprenticeship programs last for 4 years. And so people are just helping you along the way. Like, there are no grades, but people who are very experienced are making sure that you are mastering the material so that you can, not sure why that appeared there, so that you can, sorry, I just got distracted, so that you can do the work. Okay. On the job training. Some jobs may only require a high school diploma and you get trained on the job. So one of those that comes to mind is in the manufacturing sector. There are different machines that you might be using. And they don't assume, they're very particular to the kind that they are. And they don't assume that you know that anyone has ever had any experience with them, because like a button making machine is only used in the button making factory. And if you haven't worked in this button making factory, you wouldn't necessarily know the machine. So there's some sectors where on the job training is very common. And then another option is that instead of being an income earner in your household, you may be a care provider. So you may be providing care to children or providing care to elderly people in your home. And so it may be some other people in your household who are providing the income, and you may be providing the care. So that's an overview of post-secondary options. So I'm going to talk through a few of them. So first, I'm going to look at these messages that my colleagues are sending me to see if I need to respond. Okay, I do not. So degree programs. So as I mentioned, there are associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, PhD, and professional degrees. The associate's degrees are AA, Associates of Arts, AS, Associates of Science, and AAS, Associates of Applied Sciences. Those are offered at the community colleges. As I mentioned, those are take most students at least 3 years to complete. A degree program has classes that relate, in some instances, the degree relates to a particular job. And in those cases, some of the courses help prepare you to work in that job with skills that are particular to that job. And some of the courses are general educational courses. So things like English classes, math classes, social studies classes, so that you are sharpening your reading skills, your writing skills, your math skills, your thinking skills, so that by the time you graduate, an employer will say, oh, this person has a degree, and they can expect a certain level of thinking and a certain level of reading, writing, and math because you have a college degree. Bachelor's degree is the next level. Those are offered at the senior colleges. Master's degrees is the next level, PhD, and professional degree. So in a degree program, you may go full-time or part-time. Full-time used to be 12 credits. It seems like a lot of people do 15 credits. I always counsel my students that if you're someone who went through an adult literacy program, and if you have struggled with reading, writing, or math, taking more than 12 credits it may be too much and you may risk not passing your classes. So I always recommend to my students, especially when you're first entering classes, to start out with 12 credits, because what you do not want is to fail classes and have to retake them. So I always recommend start with 12 credits if you want to go full time. Financial aid is may be available to those who qualify in college degree programs.
Ellen, I'm sorry, forgive me for interrupting. I'm a little late. Would you mind just saying, there's a question that came through about whether it's possible to get an associate's degree in 2 years. It seems related to what you're saying about full-time versus part-time.
Yes.
Could you say a minute about that?
Yeah. So some people call the community colleges 2-year colleges. I never call it a 2-year college because I know that a lot of our students have jobs, have families, have responsibilities, sometimes have unexpected things come up. And it's pretty unusual for the students that I know in our adult literacy programs to complete an associate's degree program in 2 years. A lot of people call it a 2-year degree, but I think that's pretty misleading. Okay, so there's financial aid for degree programs. When you think about college and the amount of time, one rule of thumb that a lot of people use is that you can expect to spend twice as much time outside of your class hours on reading, writing essays, using the computer lab, studying, doing your homework, completing assignments, working with a study group, all of those things. There's a lot of time that you're expected to be working on your own. So if you look at your schedule and you're like, oh, okay, it's only 12 hours of class. Okay, so you should expect 12 hours of class time plus maybe 25 to 30 hours of work outside of class time. So that's really important to keep in mind when you're thinking about when is the right time to start college, you know, what's my schedule going to look like, things like that. One thing that is really unique to being a college student is the college campus, right? Like now we're all at home, right? But in normal times, we're on campus. And what happens is when you pay your tuition, you pay what's called student dues. And student dues allow you to use tons of services that the college offers to students. So you could meet with a counselor. You can, you know, talk about the struggles that you're going through with a counselor. You can use the career development office where they have job postings, they have resume workshops, you can practice interviewing. There's a tutoring center. There may be a computer lab that you can use and you can just print. You can print your papers right there in the college computer lab. There's a gym. There's a library. There are clubs. There's student clubs. And so there might be cultural clubs. So you might be joining the African Student Club or the philosophy club or the finance club. So there are all of these clubs that can help you learn about your future career in a different way, or help prepare you, or help you develop certain skills. There's a childcare center. There's a food pantry. So in addition to the classes, being a college student gives you access to tons and tons of services that you would have to pay for outside of college, most of them. So that's part of what you get. That's part of what you're paying for when you're in college. And, a lot of people have relationships with their professors that last for decades. A professor becomes your mentor and you maintain a relationship, and they have connections to people in your field who might become your future employers. So it's a whole system. Being in college is like a whole support system. So how do you find your CUNY major? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the CUNY website, and I'm going to show you how to find a major. Once you've like gone to My Next Move, figured out what your interests are, I'm going to show you how to go to the CUNY website and figure out, of the 20 CUNY colleges, which one has my major that I want to pursue. So this is just kind of the pathway that I wrote here, how to navigate the website to find what you want. So first you're going to go to the main CUNY website, and I'll show you this. You're going to click on the academics area, then academic programs, undergraduate program offers, and then there'll be a search tool. So I'm going to go there right now to show you what I mean.
Ellen, do you already have an example of a?
No.
So
Actually, I did have one, but why don't you toss one out?
well, there's still questions about, like, for example, like, does LaGuardia have a nursing program?
Right. Okay.
That's one
So-
specific, yeah.
So this is the main CUNY website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to academics, and then I go to academic programs. Program is also like degree program. Those are used a little bit interchangeably. So I'm going to click on academic programs and undergraduate. So undergraduate refers to associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees. Graduate education, that refers to master's degrees and higher. So I'm going to click on undergraduate program offerings. Okay, now we have this search tool. Okay, so let's say I feel like, okay, I'm doing my adult literacy work at Ostos. I really want to just stay at Ostos. Okay, then you can search by college. But really, I think you want to search by the degree program that you're interested in. And so I'm going to go to degree program, and there's this drop down menu arranged alphabetically. So we can go to nursing. Okay, we can check that out. Nursing. So there are, you can see there are like a few kind of nursing things here, actually a bunch. I'm just going to click on the main one, the one that just says nursing. And now I'm going to see, okay, wow, a lot of the CUNY colleges offer nursing, and they're offered at different levels. Okay, so an AAS, Associates of Applied Sciences, a bachelor's degree, so a bunch of bachelor's and a bunch of associate's degrees. And so you can use this tool to find out, okay, which college has the degree that I'm interested in. I'm going to say a little something about the AAS degree, excluding nursing, because nursing is kind of a different situation. But a lot of the AAS degrees are in a very narrowly focused field. So for example, I think there's an AAS degree in something like physical therapist assistant. Okay, those are AAS degrees, and it's offered at Kingsborough and LaGuardia. If I do an AAS degree, I can become a physical therapist assistant. But if I then want to like change my mind and do something else, there may be some classes that aren't going to transfer to something else. So it may be that that truly is the degree that you need, or it may be if you wanna get an associate's and then maybe earn a bachelor's degree in physical therapy, it may be that you do this, or it may be that you get an associate's degree in something more general, like biology, which is offered at many campuses. And then a lot of those classes are going to transfer. So if you're thinking that you're going to do an associate's degree and then a bachelor's degree, one of the things you want to keep in mind is, one, which associate's degree is required, and two, how many of the credits will transfer. So those are things just to keep in mind as you're kind of plotting out your plan. All right, so this is a really good tool. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't really link. Like there's no, it's not hyperlinked here. So if you say, okay, I see that Brooklyn College, well, let's find an associate's degree. I see Kingsborough offers an associate's degree in biology. Okay, so what I want to do next is I want to go to the Kingsborough website and I want to look at the degree there, because, you know, I see that it's offered at Kingsborough and it's offered at LaGuardia and it's offered at Queensborough. I want to see like, what's the difference, right? Because I might prefer one over the other. So what I need to do is I'm going to go back up and I'm going to go to colleges. I'm going to click on that. That's going to give me a listing of all of the CUNY colleges. So I know that they are community colleges, the ones I was interested in. So I'm going to find Kingsborough. Now I'm going to look for that biology degree here at the Kingsborough site so I can find out about it. So every CUNY college website is a little bit different, which makes navigating them tricky, right? Because they're not all organized the same way. So what you're going to do is I'm going to say, I'm not really sure, maybe quick links, academic calendar. Nah, that's not really it. Maybe current students. I'm going to look here. Academic programs and departments. That is what I want. So I'm going to click there. Degrees and certificates, academic programs, biology. That's the one I was looking for. Okay, so I'm going to click there. Programs, biology. That's the one I want. And now it's going to give me the information that I want about the program. So learning outcomes means what you should be able to do by the end of it. So what are the goals of the program? What are the requirements? Required classes. Okay, so these are those general education requirements I was talking about. And then this is a little more complicated, but basically there are certain classes that are required, and then there are certain courses that you can choose from a bucket. And so A, B, C, D, and E are these buckets. And then you have these other required courses for biology. So your first step is you want to go to the CUNY website, figure out which college has the offering you want. Then your next step is you're going to go to the website of that college and you're going to try to find the details of the major at that college. So you might say, okay, Okay, I checked it out at Kingsborough. Now let me go to the LaGuardia website. Let me see what it's like over there, how it seems different, similar. I'm gonna think about the location, etc. And so that's gonna be your next step. Okay. So, okay. So now we're going to talk about certificate programs. So, like when we looked at the pharmacy tech, some of those ads said they required a certificate. None of them said they required a degree. So if I want to be a pharm tech and like work at Dwayne Reed, I do not need a degree. There may be a point in my life when I want to pursue a degree, but for that job, I don't need to have a degree. But you may need a certificate. So certificate programs, as I mentioned, are generally shorter term than degree programs. They are offered by the community colleges. They're also offered in some other places. So they're also offered in community-based organizations, which are like organizations that might be in your neighborhood or in your borough. Some are offered by unions. And some careers require a license. So they might want you to have a certificate, but also have a license. And so that's something given by the state. And we're going to talk more about that near the end. So it usually can be anywhere from about 6 weeks to 2 years, depending on the program. It includes hands-on training as well as classroom experience. So the theory, like why are we doing this? What does it mean? But also how do I do it with my actual hands? So the why and the how. Certificate programs often have some kind of career readiness, job search assistance. So they generally do not place you in a job, but they often help you take the next step toward getting a job. So thinking about your resume, how are you going to communicate what you know in an interview, things like that. It is important that the program you choose be accredited. Okay, so this means that it's been approved by New York State, that New York State says, yes, this is a good program. You do not want to choose a program that has not been accredited. And I have a few tips that I want to show you around how to choose a program. So let's see. Okay, so here are the tips. Oh, I forgot they were sideways on here. So we're not really going to look at the tips right now. But the tips are, New York City a few years ago had this whole campaign because people had gone to private proprietary schools, of which I will not name names, where they paid a lot of money, like a lot of money. They took out big, massive loans. And in the end, they either didn't get anything useful or they got some kind of credential, but it was not recognized by employers. So when they said, oh, I have a certificate of word processing, or I have a certificate of whatever, the employer was like, I don't know what that is. What are you like? I don't know what you're talking about. And so, they had this campaign, know before you enroll. So a few tips I have are make sure it's accredited. Don't sign up the day that you check it out. So if you go there and they're giving you a hard sell, they're like, you got to sign up today. This is the last day. No, take some time, think about it. You want to make sure it's affordable to you, right? So like those are a few tips, and I can put some more of the tips in the Google Classroom page, but you want to think really carefully, especially if you're going outside of CUNY. So with the degree program, you can use financial aid. Certificate programs mostly do not take financial aid, but there are some grants available. So one of them is called that are called individual training grants. So this is offered by the city. You have to apply for them. So there's like a bit of a process. And so you need to be prepared for that. And they don't apply to all fields. So there is a list of the courses that the grants cover. And so that list is over here, the eligible occupations. So they do not apply to every certificate program. So you need to be a little careful about that. And the last thing about certificate programs is that some of them provide some college credit. So some certificate programs might say like, okay, and you get 6 credits toward a degree. So if somewhere down the line you wanted, this is at the, like within CUNY, somewhere down the line, if you wanted to do a degree in pharmacy, after you got a certificate in pharm tech, you might collect like 6 credits or something that could go toward a degree program. So again, it's important to research whether you need to earn a degree or if a certificate is fine. Okay, on the job training, as I mentioned earlier, in some fields, it's common to do on the job training. And some of those fields are the hospitality industry. So that includes things like working in a restaurant, working in a kitchen, being a server, working in a bar, working in some jobs within a hotel. Construction is another field where you can start with really no experience as what they call a helper. So you're basically an assistant. And if you show up on time, you do good work, you're reliable, they're going to give you a raise and they're going to give you a promotion because you have become valuable to the company. Manufacturing, as I mentioned before, is another field where on-the-job training is really expected. So you do not need a degree to go into the manufacturing sector. Now, there's also, we're talking about careers, but there's also like what I need to do right now to survive, right? And so some jobs like that are in what's called the informal economy, where you might get a job by knowing someone in the neighborhood, right? Or someone in your community. You might work as a nanny, doing pet care, being a dog walker, shoveling snow, raking, sweeping up leaves, driving, right? Like driving Uber or making deliveries for a restaurant. So these are all things that you probably are not going to find the job through like Indeed.com, through one of these formal channels. And some of them you can get paid off the books. So that may be important to some of you. And so that's right, like that's part of work also, is this work through the informal economy. And of course, like you're going to think about your short-term goals and your long-term goals. So in the short term, you might need one of these jobs. In the long term, you might want to become a kindergarten teacher. So I already talked about how promotions are based on the quality of work and the workplace skills. Every employer now is saying soft skills or workplace skills are of critical importance. They cannot have an employee who's like getting into fights with people or showing up late or not speaking professionally. Like, these are things that are of critical importance to employers, because as an employee, you are representing their company. And so if you are not spreading the image of their company that they want, then you're not going to be able to keep your job. And so as I do my research on careers, what I hear over and over and over again from employers in every sector, every career, is that what they call soft skills or workplace skills, how to get along with people, how to communicate well, verbally and in writing, how to listen well, all of those things are of critical importance. And certificates or degrees may lead, like, you may start with, you may work up based on your experience, but a certificate or degree may lead to increased wages and higher positions down the line in the future. So in terms of these short-term jobs, like a job, like I need a job now. You want to think about, what are your skills? Are you good with kids? Are you patient? Do you love animals? What do you have to offer that may be valuable to others? Right? What do you know how to do well? You can think about childcare or elder care, driving or delivery, building maintenance, directed care. So this is if you regularly care for a family member, you may be able to get reimbursed through an agency through what's called directed care. So if this is something you already do, right, like you already care for your elderly aunt, you may be able to get reimbursed for some of that time paid by a company, because instead of your aunt hiring a home health aide, you're doing that work. That is work that you're doing, and you can get paid for some of that work. Hair care is another thing, pet care. So those are some short-term jobs that you can think about. Okay, so earlier I mentioned licensing. So some fields require a license, and a license comes from the state, and it's the state saying this person is well trained and well prepared to do this job. So public school teachers are licensed, engineers are licensed, doctors are licensed, social workers are licensed. So the way I think about it is, any career where you have the potential to cause harm to others has a license, right? And so the requirements are usually some kind of coursework, and it's usually a certain number of hours of coursework, an exam, a state exam, and a certain number of supervised work hours. So you're working under someone who is licensed, and they're saying, okay, this person completed 300 hours of supervised work, and I believe that they're ready to become licensed and to do that work on their own without being supervised. So it's usually a pretty lengthy process. Some certificate programs may be connected to a licensing course, right? They may say, you don't become licensed at the end of our course, but maybe this course counts toward licensing. and maybe they know of like a licensing exam prep course or something like that. So often certificate programs that prepare you to work in a field that requires licensing often know about the process of becoming licensed. Legal residency is usually required to become licensed because it is a function of the state. So it's overseen by the government. And so if you are undocumented, if you are not a legal resident, you may not be able to become licensed. However, you may be able to do that work under the supervision of someone who is licensed. So it's important to, when you're thinking about your career that you want to pursue, to think about, okay, is licensing one of the steps that's required of this career? So lots of careers in healthcare, some careers in education, so you want to think about that. Okay, so we are almost at the end of what I have to say, and then I'm going to address some of your questions. So I want to review what we talked about. So step one is find out what you are interested in. This is a time when you get to dream. You get to figure out, I have like this whole path of education in front of me. What is it that I want to do? Like, what have I thought about? Or you go to My Next Move, you answer all these questions, and it says, have you ever thought about becoming an archaeologist? And you're like, wow, I don't really know what that is. Let me find out. Okay, so like this is, I was working with a student once, and I was like, what career are you interested in? And he said, being a dishwasher. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. There's nothing wrong with being a dishwasher. And also, like, what might be some higher level positions that you might be interested in beyond being a dishwasher? So like this step one is the time for you to dream, right? The time for you to just like open your mind to all the possibilities. And then later on, you can start narrowing them down. Okay, so you find out what you're interested in, then you're gonna read about the requirements. Okay, I know I wanna be an archaeologist. What does it take to become one? What do I have to do? Do I need a degree? Do I need a certificate? Do I need a license? And these are some of the resources that I shared with you for that. You're going to find an accredited training program that will prepare you for that. You should consider the location, the cost, and other factors to make the best choice for you. There may be several options, like there may be several programs that are going to prepare me to be an archaeologist. Which one am I going to choose for me? Like, what is the best choice for me? Then there may be prerequisites. There may be things that are required before I can enter that program. So I may need a diploma, for example. So, okay, that's my first step. My first step is get the diploma. Then I can maybe apply to the program. So you're going to fulfill those prerequisites. Prerequisites is what is required before. Then you're going to apply to your post-secondary training program. So those are really the steps. And what I want you to remember is that you have the power to do the research, right? Like you have the power to dream. And then after you dream, you have the power to do the research and find the answers to your questions. Because if you ask anyone else, they're going to have to look it up, just like you would have to look it up. So you should take that step and look it up yourself and figure it out. And then once you find it, if you have questions, you can always bring it to your case manager and you can say, oh, I read this. I'm not sure I understand, or like, can you help me understand this a little bit more? I also like going to YouTube and watching videos about different professions. You can just put that in the search bar when you go to YouTube or Career One Stop. It's really helpful to see videos of people talking about what it's like to have that job. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and take questions. We have about 25 minutes for questions.
Okay, so I think what you all should do, I mean, there are many questions that have been shared and I've gotten a lot of them. But if you have a burning question, now's a good time to put it in the chat. We're also going to experiment with unmuting a few people maybe. Go ahead, Ellen, I'm sorry.
So I see one question, which is, at what point do you get assigned a case manager? So this is an excellent question. Your program has a case manager. So this is someone who both works with students on like things that come up in their life. So like you need childcare, or you really don't have enough money for food, or something's going on with your housing. So like things like that, the case manager, or they may also be called a counselor or an advisor, is in your program. And they are going to help you address those things. And they also are going to help you make a plan for your career. So any questions you have about what does it take to be a pharmacy tech, or how do I find out which college has the program, your case manager can help you find the answer to those things. So that's always like the first person you're going to go to is going to be your case manager. And if you don't know who that person is in your program, you should ask your teacher, because your teacher will know.
Right, and Urena responded saying that everyone attends York College Learning Center, for example. Many students from there tonight has a case manager, and Urena is one of them. So yeah, ask the teacher. I'm going to try something, Ellen, with your permission. I'm going to try allowing people to. Well, let me ask you a few questions first, and then maybe we'll see about unmuting a few people.
Cool.
Justin has a question that I thought was useful. Justin mentioned that he, or maybe it's her, I'm not sure, is they're interested in going into construction. And one of the questions is, how do you get experience? You know, if you don't have experience, how do you get in the door? You need to have experience. How do you have to learn it somehow?
Yes.
So I wonder if you could talk about that.
In construction, one of the best ways is to be in an apprenticeship program. And so there are lots of different unions, construction unions, that are around like different areas of construction, like plumbing, electricity. We did an event at Ostos where we had someone from a representative from a union come and talk about their union, which was like taping and like finish, like some very sort of like narrowly focused part of construction. So you could look up construction apprenticeship programs in New York City. So that's something that you could look up. There are some community-based organizations that have pre-apprenticeship programs. So we had someone from the Chinese American Planning Council who they had a pre-apprenticeship program in construction. So that's the best way that I can tell you to start out in construction. You know, there are ways to like be a helper, and the way you get the job is kind of like standing on the corner with a bunch of guys standing on the corner waiting for a construction job. But an apprenticeship is like 1,000 times better for so many reasons. If you have legal residency and if you have a high school diploma.
And another question that's sort of related maybe is what are some of the benefits of being in a union?
Yeah, so benefits is one of the huge ones. So you get really good benefits, like paid time off, sick leave, a pension, like just really great benefits. You get regular salary increases. You constantly have opportunities for more training. And in the field of construction in particular, one of the really important things about being in a union is that you have workplace protections. And so union construction sites are under very strict safety guidelines. And so some accidents that happen on non-union job sites would not be happening on union job sites. So in construction in particular, there are safety measures that are really important. We have someone who is in a union, Jorge Acevedo. Should we unmute?
Sure, let's try it. So here's what I'm actually going to do. I'm going to allow, I'm going to change the settings now so that we all can unmute, but I'm going to please ask you to not unmute unless we ask you to. So at this point, I guess we're allowed, I'm sorry, who is it? Go ahead, Ellen.
It's Jorge Acevedo who just wrote in the chat.
All right, so Jorge, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and
Hi, how are you?
Hi. So can you tell us what well, first of all, what union is Local 32B?
I'm in a building janitors union for New York City.
Okay, and what are the benefits to you of being in the union? And how did you get in the union?
Well, I got in the union through a friend that was already in the union. But the benefits, I've been in the union for 6 years, and the benefits are amazing. I pay $70 a month union dues, and it covers my entire family with medical benefits, which is Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO. As a union worker, I was able to buy my house here in New York City in Queens. I'm just blessed by the job. I've been blessed. So I come here to just, better myself and transfer to a different union, which requires me to have my diploma.
And there, my friends, are the benefits of being in a union. Go join a union and buy your house and get healthcare. Thank you. That was great.
Thank you.
so actually a question just popped up. How do you know if a company has a union? Is it Nihad? Do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Hi, how are you? Actually, yeah, just I want to know if my company has a union or something like that. But I don't know about union in nothing, but just someone asked me about union and I can't answer. What's the answer?
Do you pay union dues?
I don't know what's that mean actually.
Yeah, so usually you would know. I think if your company has a union, usually you would be invited into the union and asked to pay union dues. So like Jorge was saying, you pay money to the union and then you get all of these services and protections and things like that. So if you haven't been asked about that, then chances are your business does not have a union.
Also, hello, good evening. My name is Yolanda DeVore, and I can speak to that if anybody has questions. I'm a former human resources manager for 25 years. And one of the unions that I handle was 32BJ, also security guard union as well. If you need to ask questions about whether or not your organization has a union, you just go to your HR department and they will tell you the particular jobs that consist of unions.
Great tip. So you go to the human resources department. So that's the department, if you work in a big company that hired you, and you ask them which jobs are unionized.
Thank you.
So Eric, were there some other questions you wanted to bring up now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there are questions like, there's many different kinds of questions. One question that I think has come up is again about nursing. I think, people heard the explanation you had of the difficulty of a nursing degree, how challenging it is academically, the preparation that's required, how demanding it is. And I think, for some people who had already had that as a plan, were a little intimidated. So I guess maybe what is the response then? And is it Sering? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. Tsering. Would you mind? Maybe you could unmute and tell us what you were thinking.
I heard hi everybody. I heard the nursing course is very hard. Everybody says it's very hard, very hard. But I have only a high school education level. But I'm planning to get into a nursing program. But when I heard it's very hard, it makes me scared or nervous to get in, because whoever did it is not easy. So is any comments not everything is but I feel everything is not easy, but we have to deal it. But I just want to hear what you guys recommended tonight.
So one thing that I would recommend is that you do some research on related careers and you think about what is it exactly about nursing that you're interested in. So some people are interested because they hear that it's good pay and there are a lot of jobs, and there's nothing wrong with having those as your interests. But it doesn't necessarily mean that nursing is the only thing that will fulfill those requirements. Or maybe you really want to work with patients. Or maybe, there are lots of different reasons why you might be interested in nursing. And so I think the question is to think about what are related careers and what makes you interested in nursing. That's not to say that you're not going to make it, but very few people do make it because it's very tough. So it's good to have a backup plan.
Yeah. I'm very interested only to help people, and then at the same time you can make money. But I feel education for this nursing is very helpful. People, it's when they get sick, it's the hardest time. If you are there, they will be appreciated. And I'm a Buddhist religion, as I want to help every time. So from teenage, I was always thinking I want to be doctor, but I'm now mid-30s now. So I definitely want to be a LPN nurse or RN nurse, just to help people and make myself happy. So
well, then you should go for it if you're really passionate for it. Don't let nobody.
But I just want to get the information what is right, but I don't want in the middle. I heard a lot of my friends just got in 2 years and they left it. So I just want to know.
But you might have a bigger passion for it, so you can't go by what your friends did. You have to try for yourself.
But from 100%, 99%.
I want to say something. Well, my sister, she just became a nurse, and I was asking her questions, and it took her 4 years to become a nurse. She wanted to do our registered nurse, and took her 4 years in the city college, CUNY, and then she went for her master's in Colombia, and then she now works in Mount Sinai. So it was hard work. She had to take biology classes, a lot of science, math, a lot of studying time. Like she dedicated herself to be
That's
well
it.
into the class. Like she study a lot. So you have to, if you want it, you have to dedicate yourself. I
And
I
so
see
one of
her
the
like
things,
I actually watched her like be in the library very all the time now at home because the home will be a distraction. So it was hard for her, but she made it.
yeah, and so one of the things is like if you have a goal that you know will be difficult, will be a big challenge, you need to make sure, like as your sister did, that she made a lot of time so that she could devote a lot of time and a lot of energy and not have any distractions and have her family be supportive, right? Like your family needs to know this is my goal. This is going to be really hard. I need someone to watch the kids, or I need someone to buy groceries, or I need, right? You need to tell your people what is the support you need to be able to accomplish this very difficult goal, because no one does anything difficult
Yeah.
on their own, right?
And then it runs in my family because my mom was a nurse in Dominican Republic, and then my dad was a pharmacist. So I guess she wanted to follow in the footsteps. So that kind of helped her.
And I'll also say about researching related careers, you may find, okay, I don't really want to be a nurse, I want to do something different. You may also find by researching related careers, oh, I am doubly sure now, I really do want to be a nurse, right? So researching related careers doesn't mean, oh, like I can't do it, I have to find something else. It means I want to be very well informed.
So it depends. My sister wanted to do work with the kids with oncology, so kids with cancer. So she was doing that for a while, and then she transitioned to a different department, to neurology, to neuro. So like it depends as well, what nursing degree you want.
So I'm gonna cut in for a second if that's okay. There's a couple more questions I'm hoping we can get to, Ellen. Is that
Thank you
okay?
so much
Yeah.
for helping me and answering my question. Thank you, Eric and Ellen and everybody. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome.
There's a question from Desmond. Desmond has a high school diploma and he's currently employed, but he's looking to change his career. He's interested, I think, in HVAC certificate program. Desmond, are you still here?
So one tricky thing that
Yes, I am.
that I did not explain is that the CUNY website, when we went to that search bar and it had the drop down menu of all the degree programs, it doesn't really have that for certificate program. So when I want to search for a certificate program and I don't know which CUNY college has it, I go to Google and I put in the name of the certificate, and then I put in CUNY and I get some results that way, which is a little more complicated, but CUNY is made up of all of these individual colleges and there isn't one listing of all the certificate programs. So if you want an HVAC certificate program, what I would recommend is that you do a search and see which CUNY colleges offer it. I also want to point out that some CUNY colleges have a particular specialty, right? So some CUNY colleges have a focus. And one of the foci, the focuses of City Tech is construction. And so if you want to do something like HVAC in CUNY, City Tech will probably be a good choice because there are a lot of construction programs at City Tech. So my guess, even though I haven't researched it yet, is that City Tech would be a good choice for that.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's interesting because that's the rest of Desmond's question was, is City Tech a good choice? So.
I know, I'm looking right now.
So another question that maybe is a more general question, there's a couple questions I thought were kind of interesting that maybe you could speak to. One was, let me see here, do I have it? Sorry, forgive me. Do adult students take different courses or subjects from younger?
Excuse me, I have the question.
Or Landy, could you wait one moment and we'll give you a second to ask the question, but let me ask mine.
Okay.
One moment, please.
Okay, I think I heard the question.
Okay, got it.
So the question is, do adults, Eric, tell me if I'm understanding this correctly. Basically, do adults learn the same thing as children? Or
do they take different courses when they go to college than younger students?
Oh, when they're in college, like for a college program. Okay, this is a very good question. So, in a college degree program, there are students of all ages, races, ethnicities, genders, sexualities, classes. It's just, you never know who's going to be there. And so you may have students in the class who are 20 years old, and you may have students in the class who are 70 years old. You really don't know who's going to be there. And so all the students are kind of mixed together. There's no real difference. The classes aren't arranged by like, these are traditional college age students, which people think of as sort of like 25 and younger, or older students. They're really all mixed together.
And the other related question maybe was about, well, it's different, but is CUNY worth it? Is it worth going to CUNY? Big question.
I mean, I think it's really useful to talk to students who have, done a certain major. We do have some panels where we bring our former students back to talk about their experiences in college. CUNY is an enormous institution and has tons and tons of different majors and certificate programs. I mean, I don't really know how to answer that question. How would you answer that question?
Hi, Ellen, this is Charlotte. Can I answer that question?
Please.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. I'm the question is for the last one. From the before one.
Let me just answer the question about CUNY.
Sorry.
CUNY is the best institution for your dollar. We have a number of individuals who have graduated from the university who are pretty much our benefactors, So depending on the major that you're interested in, check CUNY out first. I would, the fee, the tuition that you're paying, okay, at the college is affordable. It's affordable, it's accessible, and students do get a quality education from CUNY. We have professors that are teaching at CUNY that also teach at Columbia University. And Columbia is charging far more than CUNY. The curriculum is pretty much the same. So is CUNY worth it? Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
My question, I'm trying to find my question in the chat box. So basically what I was asking is, I'm a part of the 1199 union. Should I go back to college for my JD with the 1199 SIEU union? What is it? What do they usually offer? Like tuition reimbursement or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something to look into. If your workplace offers tuition reimbursement, you should take advantage of that. Like if you have the time, that's an amazing opportunity and you should absolutely take advantage advantage of that.
I was researching up to last night, which was the best college for me to do my law, to go into the JD program. So I saw a couple colleges there, but then I said, wait a minute, I'm with 1199, so maybe they have a college that will benefit me. So I'm going to research that, like you said.
Yeah, so you want to look into the details. Is it certain colleges, or like what are the, you know, what are their guidelines of how they reimburse? That's a great opportunity. Yeah.
And that's also one of the benefits of being in the union, such as this, that they provide you reimbursement depending on what program that you're going into and trying to obtain certification, degree, or whatever the case may be. That's the benefit of being in a union, just as a FYI.
So what if they can't, just saying, I don't like to think negative, but what if they don't have, they can't help me with what I want to go into, which is to be a judge, which I know I have to do. I want to do my bachelor's in law first and then go into the JD program. And then they have some colleges that I saw in my research that they have the two combined.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably, and maybe Yolanda has some advice here, but I think I would talk to your union to see what exactly the stipulations of the tuition reimbursement are.
Thank you so
Exactly.
much. Thank you.
Can I,
I saw someone ask, what if you have a felony? Can you get a state job or a federal job?
This is, I'm glad you asked that question. So this is really important. Some industries are more welcoming to people who've been incarcerated or who have a record. So some of the industries that are more open to people who have had criminal involvement are hospitality, working in kitchens and working like cleaning hotels and things like that. Construction and manufacturing. And so when you look at these fields, these are fields where you're doing work with your hands, right? Your body is doing the work. And the employers often want to see that you're reliable, that you show up on time, you do a good job. And they say, you know, a lot of them say, whatever you did in your past, like, I'm not interested in that. I am interested in the work that you do now. However, other fields, like some healthcare positions, some education positions, it may be harder to get a job in some of those fields where there's just like more scrutiny from the state. And there are also what's called re-entry organizations that help people who have been incarcerated find careers, and there are also job training programs specifically for people with a criminal past. One of the there are a number, but one of the job training programs that I think seems really good is called Drive Change, which trains people to work in kitchens and actually own their own food trucks. And then there are other like kind of broader social service organizations around reentry, like Fortune Society, that Eric could probably talk about some more, that offer like counseling and housing services and job, you know, kind of like career coaching, as well as specific job training programs. But it is, I think it's really helpful to think that there's some industries that are just more welcoming than others.
So is the
DUI
a felony or misdemeanor?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Is a DUI a felony or misdemeanor?
I don't know. You'd have to.
It's a misdemeanor, but I can also to answer the question for that gentleman. First thing you need to do, or you should do, is look at New York State 23A law. That law tells you exactly what any employer is allowed to look at in regards to your prior convictions and so on and so forth. because I think if I recall correctly, if I remember my laws correctly, after 10 years, there's certain things that they can't even look at even record. So your first step is to look at the 23A law, and every employer has to have that posted at their workplace, whether it's in the break room, application room, and it tells you specifically what an employer can and cannot hire you for.
The other thing that you should do is you should get a copy of your rap sheet, because what I have been told is there are a huge number of mistakes, like administrative mistakes, just like it says the wrong thing. And you can get those mistakes corrected. And you just want to know what it says. Like, you want to know what an employer is going to see. So it's very important, if you have a record, that you see your rap sheet. So 1, you can check it for mistakes, and 2, you can see what an employer would see.
I'm sorry,
Just
sorry
one
to
more
interrupt
question,
real quick.
Yolanda. I want to just ask Yolanda, do you know, like, say you say it's a felony, but also
a misdemeanor for DUI.
Okay, and then how do you get your record?
The rap
Oh,
sheet, you mean,
you
right?
go to the. Go ahead, Eric.
No, I'm sorry. I can find it relatively quickly, but I don't have it off the top of my head. Does anyone know how to get their copy of the rap sheet?
I don't off the top of my head, but we could put it
I
on
could look it
Google
up.
Classroom. We can find that out.
Okay, I want to tell someone what they need.
I have a question. I have a daughter that she graduated from associate's degree, and she's looking for a job. Is any option for her? And then now she's in the bachelor for business. She's willing to do another 2 years for bachelor, but for business. Is any option for her for a job, because she's looking for a job, but she don't know in which area to
So if she is in a CUNY college, the best thing that she should do is contact the career development office at her college.
The career what? Can you repeat?
The career office. Sometimes it's called the career development office.
Oh.
Hi, I have the question.
Go ahead, Orleni. It's really loud, but go ahead.
Okay. Where can take the class for the SAT?
Okay, I think we got SAT is what you're saying.
Yeah, because in the article registration for the SAT open.
I'm not sure, but why do you need the SAT? Okay. Ellen, do you know? I'm not sure.
Repeat again, please.
Oh, why do you need the SAT?
I haven't taken.
But if you want to go to a CUNY college, it's not necessary.
Oh, it's not necessary? Oh, okay. But it's necessary SAT for enter for college or university?
I never mentioned this before, but a lot of this information is in a previous workshop that we had with Charlotte Henson Butler, who is on this call. But I just want to say, if you want to go to a CUNY community college, all you need is to have a high school diploma or a high school equivalency diploma, and you pay your fee. And if there's space, they let you in. You do not need an SAT. All you need is your diploma, and you pay your fee, and you can go. So you don't need the SAT to go to a CUNY community college.
Hi, Ellen, can I just add to that?
Please.
Adult students, 19 years of age or older, we do not expect them to go back to sit for the SAT for, as we would, let's say, a high school graduate. And secondly, because of COVID, the university, City University, all of the four-year colleges, we are going test blind, which means that the SAT is not required for the following semesters: spring of 2021, which is in session now, the fall of 2021, and also spring of 2022. the SAT will not be required, SAT or ACT.
Thank you. And while you're still here, there's another question I see here that says, is a special education diploma good for college? So I know New York used to have an IEP diploma and now there isn't one. Is that correct?
That is correct. There used to be an IEP diploma, but we would not admit students with that diploma. They would have to sit for the high school equivalency. That has in fact changed now. So they're not offering an IEP anymore. It's something totally different. Okay, but if a student does not have a local diploma, if they do not have a Regents diploma or an advanced Regents diploma, or the high school equivalency, if they don't have those four, if they have something less than that, they will have to sit for the high school equivalency.
Can I say something about that?
Yes.
So basically, I have an IEP diploma, and I'm facing that situation which I have to take my GED. Because I don't have no Regents or local diploma right now.
Yes.
So basically, I have to start from scratch.
Are you receiving accommodations? Like, have you contacted the Office of Accessibility, and do you have special accommodations?
I do have special accommodations, but like for like if I'm taking tests, other stuff, but I'm not like in depth of what other steps to do.
Right.
So right now I'm just taking GED classes.
Yeah, and you should have those accommodations when you take the task exam.
I recently took the test and I did get accommodations.
Okay.
I passed 2 tests. I'm missing 3.
Congratulations.
Congratulations is
but,
right.
But because of COVID, they shut down everything, and now I can't find a place to get tested. So that's another issue right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult because of COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a same issue like her too. I finished my high school in other country, and I don't have a certificate, but I do have a letter from the school that I finished high school, but it didn't work out here, and then I'm doing GED too.
So let me just say, students who are educated outside the United States, we do in fact ask for the transcript and also the diploma. And what we would recommend is that you show that to us first to determine if it is in fact equivalent for university, for higher education. And if it is not, let the university tell you to take the high school equivalency.
Can I just say something, please? So, okay, so I just received my diploma. I haven't received it physically in the mail, but I know it's on the way. And for those past 2 students who said something about because of COVID, I still continue to take classes because I do want to go to college. That's my aim. And I take those classes over at Brooklyn College. So, I mean, and it's Zoom classes. So either you have a phone or a laptop or iPad, whatever it is, and you do your stuff.
Yeah.
So that's, that's information you can just, and they accept, matter of fact, look, this week, they accepted, I think, 10 students. So, I mean, do your research and just get in the class. It's Zoom.
The classes are open. It's just the New York State Department is not accepting people to test.
Kingsborough is offering to do the test. They're doing it because there are students who took the test last week and it was over at Kingsborough. So, I mean, if you're at that point and you're ready to do the exam, go ahead, call over a day, apply, send in the applications, and you're on your way. That's how I see it.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question.
All right.
Hi, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. How long it takes to be like a massage therapist?
So what I would say is you should go to one of those websites that I mentioned earlier, and you can do the research and find out there.
Okay. The
Yeah.
same thing like with the other things.
Yeah, so you can find the information if you go to the Occupational Outlook Handbook or my Next Move. You can find the information there.
So as soon as you take the diploma, you sign up in the college, right?
Yes.
That is second step to do, right? Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still need to do the entry level exam for college? The entrance exam, sorry, not the entry level, the entrance exam.
Can Charlotte, Henson Butler, or Eric, can you speak about that?
It'll depend on, once the student has in fact been accepted, the college will in fact determine if the placement exam is required.
Okay.
All right, the college will determine that.
Okay. Does it depend on the degree?
So they're going to be looking, now if you're a first-time college student, okay, they're going to be looking at your academic work, okay, to determine if you are ready to do college math and college English. Those are the only two areas that will in fact be tested. So the reading, the writing, and the mathematics are going to be essential.
Okay.
So they'll be looking at the academic work that you've done to determine whether or not you would have to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Question, please. All right. We only have a few minutes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My question is that I received my diploma through going to York College. I just received it maybe weeks ago. But I applied for the SEEK program for York College. I wanted to know how guaranteed is getting into the program?
For what semester?
The SEEK program for York College.
For what semester are we talking about? The fall term?
Yes, the fall coming up.
Okay, so if you have a high school equivalency diploma, you are academically eligible for the program. But they will in fact be looking at the income of the family. There are more students that would be eligible for the program that will get into the program. So if you've already filled out your application and you've checked that you're interested in the SEEK program, and you have also filled out your FAFSA application form, okay, the free application for federal student aid, the college will extract that information to determine your eligibility. There's really no guarantee, okay? But it is in fact a very helpful and useful program. I was in the SEEK program back in the day.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Okay.
congratulations. What is the SEEK
Congratulations.
program?
Absolutely.
What is the SEEK program?
SEEK is the Academic Support Service Program at all of the CUNY four-year colleges. Its two-year component is the College Discovery Program. These programs will stay with the student throughout their college life. It provides the student with tutoring, counseling, seminars, financial support, but not financial support in a sense where it pays for the entire tuition, but it does in fact give a student a stipend and book vouchers. It is designed primarily to help a student successfully graduate, okay, from the college that they have in fact been accepted to, be it an associate degree or either the bachelor's. If students start out in the College Discovery Program at a CUNY community college, and they graduate, the SEEK program at the four-year college picks up automatically. The other components would be the HEOP program at private schools and the EOP program at a state university. So sometimes individuals will know HEOP and EOP quicker than they would SEEK and CD. All of them are pretty much the same programs that will in fact allow a student to get the academic and financial support that they need to graduate.
All right.
Thank
so,
you.
Question.
We have just a few minutes left, so we're going to take maybe one or two questions more. We will put this recording on the Google Classroom page. We're also going to put some additional information there, like my slides, which have a lot of the links. We will be scheduling more workshops. Also on that page is our last workshop that Charlotte Henson Butler did for us on CUNY admission. So if you have questions that are about how to apply to CUNY, I applied, what do I do now? Do I have to take the SAT? All of those questions. I strongly recommend that you go to the Google Classroom page and you listen to the workshop that she gave last time, and you'll find lots and lots of information. So we'll take maybe 1 or 2 more questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
The C program is the same as like ASAP?
It's similar. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar. Yeah, they're both supportive programs that support you academically as well as financially. Okay,
thank you.
One more question.
I have a question. Is there any other resources for people with an IEP diploma?
You may be able to receive services through Access VR. So that's something that you should look into.
And also, once they do in fact receive the high school equivalency, it's important that you reach out to the college. College's Office of Accessibility, so that they can provide the academic support that's needed for you to ensure that you graduate successfully like any other student.
So if you received accommodations in high school, you should also be able to receive similar services in the college, and also with taking the task exam.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for participating. Especially thank you to Charlotte Henson Butler, who is always so generous and is extremely busy and knows everything about CUNY. And so again, we're gonna post this as a recording. The things you want to remember are talk to the case manager at your site. If you do not know who your case manager is, you should ask your teacher. And do your research and find the answers to your questions. And if you're confused, you should go to your case manager and ask them to help you with it.
Thank you. Thank you so
Emily,
much.
this was excellent.
Thank you. All right, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, all. Be
Have a good
safe.
night.
Hey, thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night. Thank you.